Hello and welcome to Pantheon News. It's me, Apollo, your usual host, but in the future there might be more hosts. Wink, wink. We've got 3 very interesting stories. I thought they were super cool. There's a lot of fun topics that'll be discussed. A lot of different areas that we're going to be pulling at and grasping at. So you guys are kind of in for a little bit of a treat, especially when we get to the Let's Play part. There is a lot to cover on that. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right in. And I just want to say hello to everyone who was able to be here live right now. A huge shout out to Josie and Adrienne, 2 of our regulars that are always here supporting the channel. And I just appreciate you guys so much. Also, if you ever just want to chat with me, we do a bit of a 10-minute pre-show before every stream where we just get on and hang out and talk, kind of, just vibe out for a few minutes before the stream. It's very low-key. It's not as high energy, but it's still fun. And it's a chance for me to get to interact with you guys directly on a one-on-one sort of situation. And it's completely free. No Patreon, no come hang out behind a paywall. So let's jump in. Just a bit of a disclaimer. Just remember, although we are talking about articles, things that I have researched, everything is still my opinion. It's the opinion of Pantheon Talks. And so, just take it with a grain of salt. All right. So Lord Olympus. It's over, right? It's over. That's insane. So when you think about Lore Olympus, there's just so much that's going on with this series. This series is constantly winning awards. It has a massive fan base. I think I see more fan art. I see more cosplays. This Webtoon really hits hard within the masses. People love this series. People who don't even read Webtoons, I feel knows what Lore Olympus is, and it has massive global appeal. I forgot to change the title for this. So it says Webtoon and New York Comic Con. Massive mistake on my part. So just kind of ignore that. It kind of ties in a little bit because she was at New York Comic Con, which we talked about on a previous stream. But, that's not the point of this topic. So I'm sorry that the header is wrong. Adrienne said the series was one of the first. Was one of the first I came across. Yeah, it's massive. I remember seeing what are they called? Ads on YouTube for it. They went really hard with Lore Olympus, and I mean, according to the masses, it's well deserved. So I'm just kind of you can't really. Why won't this go away? Oops. I didn't mean to open the music. But that's... Yes! It's gone! That's been driving me crazy since we started. But it's kind of crazy how big this series is. And I just want to say that I think Rachel... she gets a lot of flack. A lot of people are on Rachel about a lot of stuff. But... even if you dislike the series, you can't deny its success. So Rachel herself is the one who actually said that the series is coming to a close. Now, this is quoted from Cosmopolitan. She did an interview with them, which craziness, a Webtoon creator doing a interview with Cosmopolitan. So she said, for me, I've always had a picture of what the end will look like. And in terms of story beats, I'm this is what we have left. Naturally, I've reached a point where the story that I want to tell authentically is what I have left, and anything beyond that wouldn't be for my own personal reasons. I would be more for money part, of which is not really what I want to do as a storyteller, which I can appreciate that. There are parts of the story where I feel I could possibly explore, but I think it gets to a point where I'm I love these supporting characters, but I don't know if that's what everyone wants to hear about. But in terms of core story, this feels this feels like the authentic conclusion to me. So just a little bit of context. She was kind of talking, the interviewer asked her if the story was ending soon and why she felt like it was ending soon. And so just to kind of, my interpretation of that is she's basically told the story to its fullest. It's coming to the point where she has a very clear ending in mind. And so she's like, I've told it. Could she pull out more stuff? Yes, of course. Could she, stretch out the story? Yes. But I also feel like stretching out a story kind of affects fans to a sense, because after so much filler, you're kind of like, okay, I'm not reading the story for Hermes. I'm not reading the story for Poseidon. I'm reading it for Persephone and Hades. And if you want to make a story about Hermes, or you want to make a story about another side character, then they need to have their own story, like a little novella or something. So with all of that in mind, I think it's pretty smart of Rachel to kind of go ahead and end the story with where she feels that it makes the most sense. Sometimes I think, especially when you're releasing something weekly or releasing something where like your audience is very involved in the process, because I feel like a lot of webtoons, you're kind of like throwing out lines and then you're getting to see how people respond to the story threads that you're making, and you can kind of adjust and weave and grow the story from the reaction of your audience. And so it makes it kind of hard, I think, to end a story like that, because like there's so much creator, reader, audience involvement. But I really respect a creator just saying like, okay, yes, the money is coming in, I'm loving the money, I'm loving the accolades, but the story's ending and I just got to move on to another project. Now, the only thing about this is Rachel did not specifically say like, hey, it's ending June 2024. She was very vague, which I can understand that because, Rachel's been taking long hiatuses, which I feel like can only speak to her success and how much money she's making, to be honest, because she goes on long breaks. And I feel like she could have a situation where she doesn't need the money per se, but I'm just saying that in my opinion, she's comfortable enough in her life where she can afford to take a break, to detox from the story, to kind of think about other things, think about strategically where she wants to go from here. So I feel like her just giving a generalization that is ending in 2024 is, it could end in 2025, but she's just at the point where she's like, the story's coming to a concluding end. So that leads us to, how does this actually benefit any of us? Well, I think this opens the opportunity for our stories. So Webtoons will be looking for another flagship series. Now remember, Rachel started on Canvas. She was on there for a little while and then she got picked up. And the reason why I think it's probably even more important for a lot of creators who want to work with Webtoons, which, let me go ahead and say this, I am not opposed to anyone working with Webtoons. I myself am not opposed to working with Webtoons. I just feel like it would need to be under very specific circumstances for myself. So, despite what everyone might think, I'm not a Webtoon hater. I think it's very smart to work with them to grow your platform, to grow your business, to grow your series, for it to reach more people. And so with that being the case, I feel like if you have a series right now that you're passionate about, that you feel like should be picked up by Webtoons, then this is the time to really take a moment, look at your series, look at what you're making, and then either revamp it so that Webtoons feels like this could be our next big series, or just keep doing what you're doing and keep producing the content at a high level. I would also think about watching the videos with the Creator Summit in it. They reveal a lot of people who work behind the scenes at Webtoons there. So like following them on social media, possibly even sending them a message, like it doesn't hurt. Who knows where a message that you send to somebody could lead. I know it might feel kind of weird, but like you're just trying to connect with people. And if they don't want to connect with you, they just won't respond. I've sent so many messages to people where they just don't respond. And I've gotten to the point where I'm not upset about it, because like if somebody messaged me and I didn't want to talk to them, that's my right. Like I don't have to talk to you. But, you know, I'm always down to talk to you guys. I love having a little chatty chat with you people. And I love talking about random writing stuff, characters, all of that stuff. That's so much fun. So, like, if you send a message and the vibe's not there, it makes sense. Okay, I'm not feeling it. They're not feeling it. I'm out. Cool. Well, you've got to keep it moving from there. So I feel like this would be the time for anybody who wants to work with Webtoons to really start thinking about, what can I do to my Webtoon to make it stand out so that Webtoons picks me up? Oh, comments. Adagong said, yeah, working with Webtoon, walking on hot rocks. Online connections have... Oh, you also said, Adagong said, online connections have led me to meeting a lot of other artists from my experience. Yeah, they have, which I feel like meeting other editors could be cool too. Like, who knows, that editor could really, you know, have faith in you and say like, hey, I really like your series, but I feel like in order for me to really pitch it to my boss, you need to work on these things. You need to fix these things. Like, these things will help you to progress and help me to be able to pitch you better to the higher ups. So like, you never know where that could lead. I also think like if you're able to ever go to a convention before like Rachel ends her series and try and network and make a contact with somebody at Webtoons, that would be super smart. Like, the sky is literally the limit. Like, think of creative ways to get your in with Webtoon, because let me tell you, I feel like you can have the best work ever, but if you're not making connections, sometimes a simple connection could push you to the next level, even if your series isn't the best series in the world. And I know that sounds kind of like backwards, because it's like, well, my series is amazing, I shouldn't have to do all that. Yes, but humans we're not machines. Like, we don't always respond necessarily to what should be right. We respond a lot of times to emotional things, like, and especially emotional connections with people. Like, they could meet you and be like, oh, I love Apollo, he's so amazing. And then they want to work with you. So it's as simple as something like that. Next, I think when Rachel concludes her story, if the story's conclusion ends well and it has a lot, like, I would say if 70% of the people are happy with the conclusion and not just, I wish the story continued, I feel like this would serve as a masterclass on how to develop a story from canvas to an original to a successful conclusion of a 5-year story. I don't know how long it's been since she's been working on this. I'm just throwing out 5 years. And so it, like, from, you know, getting mass appeal on Webtoons to getting tons of accolades and awards, like the Ringo Awards, the Eisner Awards, like all of those things. I feel like that would really serve to like really bolster like what we could do as creators to further our stories. Because although Lore Olympus is a retelling of a story, it's told in a way that's fresh, it's very original, it's very much of the current time. And so there's a lot of things that you can pick from this that makes the story stand out to so many people. Also, what are you guys drinking? Today, I am drinking a blue raspberry soda. It's so good. The only thing is it turns your tongue blue, and I don't like that. The things that drive me crazy at night. Adagong said, business skills is definitely necessary in today's environment. I feel like they've always been necessary. I just feel like a lot of artists have gotten away with not using them somehow, which kind of I feel like is the reason why artists get so much flack now. I mean, I feel like artists have always gotten flack, but I feel like it's even worse now because like we live in an environment where like things are really, a lot of things are more strategic, I think. And so it makes it even harder for artists when we're not strategic, because it's like, oh yes, work on this series for pennies and then you wonder why you're broke. And it's because like we're selling ourselves short. We're not like keeping in mind like the business, like all of that stuff. So my last thing of how this could benefit you is once Lore Olympus is done, it kind of opens the door at a lot of these award events for like new series to start shining even more, which sounds kind of weird, I guess, which I'm not trying to knock Rachel down a peg and be like, you're sucking up all the oxygen. If she's deserving of the award, she's deserving of the awards. So you just gotta keep going. Like, I'm sorry you didn't win and Rachel did, but now that the series is over, now's your opportunity. So I feel like even more so, if you want to enter into like, be more of the artiste and try and enter into like the more respected, like literary of comics, like sort of thing, like really recognized for your talents and the achievements that you do, this would be another good chance and opportunity. And I feel like once, like those award things, I feel like don't mean a lot necessarily to us, but I feel like in the industry, it does help to sell things because you see so many times in things like news articles like Cosmopolitan, Popverse, like these people who interview Webtoon creators, they're always like, yes, #1 New York best-selling author, winner of the Eisner Award. Like these accolades mean stuff. So I feel like it would only serve to help us as creators for a lot more people to win awards. And I think it's awesome that Rachel has won all this stuff. Like, hey, if it was me, I would not be apologetic about it. I wouldn't be like, oh, I wish somebody else would win. I would literally be like, thank you very much for recognizing me again. It is me, Apollo, and I deserve this. So, with that being said, were there any thoughts or questions on this? There's not necessarily a lot to unpack here, but there is a decent amount of things that I feel like we could dive even deeper into. I really feel like a breakdown of what Rachel's done right could be really important, even if you're not working in the romance genre, like from Rachel's character designs to her environment designs, her art style. Like, I feel like a lot of it's very strategic, it's very unique, and I feel like there's so much that you can learn from Rachel. I think people are really hard on Rachel for some reason that I don't necessarily understand, because I don't think it's always jealousy. I think some of it's, I just don't know what it is. Like, if y'all know what it is, let me know, because I'm just kind of like, Rachel's just like another creator who's trying to make it. Like, why is everybody trying to tear her down because she's popular? She can't help her popularity. The masses decide who's popular. Oh, unhinged. Adrienne said, honestly, feel that a lot, so many stereotypes nowadays. Yeah, like artists, I feel like we're very like put into a box, and that's where we're at for forever. Like, if you tell somebody, yeah, I want to be a professional artist, or I'm working to be an artist, like, people look at you kind of weird sometimes, and it's like, is it an issue? Like, what's the problem? So I never fully understood it. Would the distinct art style be a huge factor in Lore Olympus' success? Personally, I don't think so. I think that what really contributed to Lore Olympus' success is that she has really strong themes in her story. She also kind of, like, it's very modern. So she tackles a lot of like common issues that people are facing now. And then she's very honest, I think, about her portrayal of particular scenes, especially that involve Apollo. And she really writes, like, this is the one thing that I've never liked about Webtoons, is there's not enough internal dialogue, and I feel like Rachel does a really good job of putting us in the headspace of Persephone. She does a really good job of explaining Persephone's feelings, like emoting Persephone's feelings. Like, Persephone and Hades feel like three-dimensional characters that make sense, that really embody the emotions and feelings of a lot of people. And I feel like it's reflective of not just society, but also it's reflective of young people. And like, since Webtoon's audience is young, it's kind of important to make sure that your story can connect with that audience. So like, if it's not hitting, then it wouldn't be as successful as it is. So I think that's what really connects it, is the story in of itself. And so many people say that her art style is beautiful, so it could be some of that. But there's so many unique art styles on Webtoon that I'm like, I don't know if it's that. I just can't see per se an art style being the thing that keeps people coming back to read a comic. At the end of the day, it's a literary visual storytelling, and the key word there is storytelling. So it's still about the story. It's one of, Adagong said, it's one of the most unique I've seen on any Webtoon. Are we talking about Lore Olympus? Are you just saying that it's unique story? I don't know. I don't think that Lore Olympus is doing anything to necessarily break the mold. I think that it's just a well-written story. Like, it's not like, I'm trying to think of if there's anything in the story that I particularly find to be like astounding. I just felt like when I read it, so let me say, when I first read the story, it was when I first started reading Webtoons, I didn't like it. And I just couldn't get into it. I think I read like 2 episodes and then I stopped reading. And I was like, oh, I'll try it again. I tried it again, still couldn't get into it. I finally got into it because I think they're called Helvetica Dubs. They did like a dubbing of the whole first season. And so I listened to it while I was at work. And I was finally able to make it through the series. I feel like the story's just good at what it does. And it tackles specific issues, which if you've read the story, you know what issues I'm talking about, in a very particular way. And I think that's what's very compelling about it. It makes you very invested in Persephone and her journey. All right. We've got a lot to cover on this one. Oh my good grief. Mangi is out here making moves. So if you don't know, Mangi is the former Webtoon creator of Let's Play. So she was a Webtoon original and she left. Well, girl has a bunch of stuff going on that's coming up very quickly. And let me just say, when she made her announcements about everything that's happening, I was just like, dang, she's working it. Like, when I say that she's really putting in a lot of work to get stuff done, girl is a businesswoman. And I just want to say, if you guys are unsure or you feel like you can't make it without Webtoons, there are other paths that you can take. It's going to require a lot of work and it's going to require a lot of effort, but I definitely think that you can do it. I feel like Webtoons is now becoming like the easier way to do things. Like, it's, I don't want to call it like the shortcut or the out or whatever you want to call it, but I feel like it is like people are like, oh, I become a Webtoon original, I've made it. Well, let's say you don't like Webtoons. What do you do then? Well, if we look at Mangi, so keep in mind that Mangi's fan base, a huge amount of it did come from Webtoons. So at the time, I think when Mangi signed her contract with Webtoons, it was very smart because Webtoons was new. From what I understand, like when they first started reaching out to a lot of people, they gave like much more fair deals to people. I don't know if that's true. That's just rumor what I've heard. So I feel like at the time, Mangi made a very strategic decision. And at the time, webcomics over here, I don't think were that huge. Like, I can't think of any necessarily huge webcomics that were like destroying the world, where it was like they were getting New York billboards and they were getting tons and tons of advertisement on YouTube and whatnot. I can't think of any series that were doing that. So since she's left Webtoons, which I feel like this is a great example to people who are like, well, I don't know if there's any paths after Webtoons. There is. You have to do your research. You have to figure out what you can do. So Mangi is getting an anime adaptation. Now, mind you, she was in talks with another studio for a live action adaptation. All I can hear is ka-ching on all of this stuff. Like, they have to pay her for this stuff in order to use her stuff. So the studio that's going to be making her series, they are the ones who created, or I shouldn't say created, but they worked on Pokemon and Kokomi can't communicate. Sorry, got Genshin on the brain. So those are pretty big studios, pretty decent. And with Mangi's art style, I feel like that fits right in with their type of work. It's still very detailed, very nice, but it's still simple at the same time, if that makes sense. There hasn't necessarily been a release date for it, but with the wording, I feel like the deal's already been sealed that it is going to get an anime. And with the way that Mangi works, since she seems very specific, she's very intelligent about her business deals, I would say it'll come out in the next couple of years. So if not in 2025, it'll come out in 2026. And it could come out sooner than that. It just depends on how much work she's put into this deal. And you can think about other things that Mangi's done. She's made a video game simulator for her Let's Play. Like, she's done a lot of stuff. She's dipped her toes in a bunch of different revenue streams. So you think about, she has her video game. She's getting an anime. She has her Webtoon. She has her physical copies of books that she's making. She has her merch. She has her Patreon. She has so many revenue streams. Like, she is constantly out there trying to get a bunch of stuff. Well, if you did not know this, Let's Play completely stopped on Webtoons. Like, it ended. Mangi was like, do not release any more episodes. And they were like, well, you can't release any more episodes. She's like, that's fine. I'll wait you out. Well, she's announcing it. Let's Play is going to return in fall 2025. So all of her fans who were super excited about, well, who were super sad that the series had to stop, but now she's making the announcement, hey, it's coming back. Mangi is out here making moves. I promise you that she has like a very strong timeline. And I think that if you are a creator, you have to be looking ahead into the future. The thing that I think is the most interesting about this is that she doesn't limit herself. So she's like, oh, I want a live action. Got it. I want a video game. Got it. I want an anime. Got it. Like, she goes after this stuff. Like, she's not just sitting around doing nothing. Like, she did not allow the dissolving of her relationship with Webtoons to stop her from being a boss. And this is what it takes to run your own IP. You have to be creative and you have to think about, well, if I want to do this for a living, if I want to keep, making moves, and if I want to keep staying relevant and keep retaining fans and whatnot, I need to be doing stuff on my own. Remember, Webtoons is really just a publishing house that doesn't even like keep the original work. So they just release your series more or less. Everything else, every other idea that you have, maybe Webtoons could help you with it. But at the end of the day, it's on you. You're the one who has to push the series. You're going to be its biggest advocate. And if you want a huge level of success, then you've got to go out there and push for it. And I just feel like Mangi is really doing that. So then we see that Let's Play Volume 4 is coming out. So with that, there was more to it than what I really want to get into, but just know that she has like a Let's Play After Dark, if you know what I mean. Wink wink, nudge nudge. After Dark, what happens in the dark, what happens under the sheets. So if you are into that type of content, that's also coming out. Then she also made a deal with another company for licensing. So like using her characters, I'm assuming using her logo on specific things to like market them or to sell other products and whatnot. Like you think about like a lot of times there'll be licensing for like cups or like Legos or licensing for like apparel and whatnot. And so she's made deals about this, which I'm just like, see, that's another revenue stream. I never thought necessarily about licensing like characters and stuff, but licensing is probably like the character's made, it's done, the character's popular, and so you just get money. Like they have to pay you before they sell anything, more or less. I guess it depends on your deal, but I'm just saying, think about all of these revenue streams that she is just killing it with. So that's where it makes me feel like, even from looking at this, I felt like I was also limiting myself. I was kind of like, oh, I'll just release my book and that'll be the end of it. No, I can still do more. There's a lot of stuff that I can build, like a merch shop for my book. I can build there's like so many things that you can do. You just have to be creative and figure out ways that you can really push yourself forward, push what you're making to really like garner a loyal fan base. There are people that are fans of just merch. Like they like certain people and they just buy their merch. I think Bailey J is a good example of a person who like makes merch every like season or something like that, every quarter. And like people come back to buy her stuff because they're loyal to her. They love her merch. So it's just really opened my eyes. Also, I just noticed there is a typo there. So Let's Play again will return in 2025. Just refer to the graphic. And then during all of this, so she's working on all of this stuff. She tells everybody, hey, also my new webtoon is coming out, The Dragon King Oath. I was like, dang, how do you have the time to do all this? Like, you just have to think about the amount of business deals that she's in, the amount of work that she has to put in to, like, you know, make illustrations, to continue to make the comic, because Let's Play when it returns in 2025, she has to finish working on it. So this kind of leads me into what I think is very smart of her. She's like, I'm staying relevant, I'm staying a part of people's minds, and all the people who want more Let's Play, who don't just want Let's Play at night, Let's Play after dark, well, I also have another series coming, and it's a fantasy series. So let's just look at this. I think her character designs are so good. Like, I feel like she definitely has a very particular style, which most artists do once you find a style that you like. But I think that her style is very appealing. Like, it has, like, all of the characters have a natural appeal. Like, I don't necessarily like lizards. I don't necessarily like these lizards, but I do think they're appealing. I think they're cute and whatnot. I like their little emotes. And so I feel like in the Mangiverse, Mangi is amazing at making characters that look interesting and attractive, but also different. So top tier character designer, which I would say, you know, if you're trying to figure out like how to improve your characters, you could learn a lot from Mangi, from color palette to expressions to just the overall like aesthetic and whatnot. Like she's really good at it. What was interesting about this is in the article, which is linked, all articles are linked in the description. It talks about how this is going to be a 100 episode series that'll premiere in late 2024. So next year, she's going to have a new series coming out, and it's going to feature these characters. 100 episodes. I feel like that's very strategic as well, because depending on the timing of when Let's Play returns, they could more or less end around the same time, or this series could end as the new Let's Play begins. So I'm just like, very strategic, Mangi, very strategic. So how does Mangi feel about this collab? Because let me tell you, I have no clue who Manta is. I was like, who is this? So I had to look it up and whatnot. But they're another comic publishing house. So think like Dark Horse or Webtoon, whatever you want to think. But this is where I'm like, hey, you need to think about these things and do research and keep an eye on other comic companies that you could possibly work with in the future. So this is what Mangi had to say about Manta Comics. More than just a digital comics platform, she explained, I found a committed team at Manta that listens, collaborates, and celebrates shared goals. As we forge ahead, I'm reminded of the ever-supportive community that has enjoyed my work and celebrated each milestone with me. I'm eager for everyone to see what's next. So with all of that in mind, I feel like this really speaks to what Mangi probably wanted from Webtoons. She wanted a bit of more transparency with them. She wanted to feel like they supported her more, feel like they valued her, valued what she brought to their platform. Which I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to feel like the person that you're working for values your opinion, values you as an employee, values you as a collaborator, whatever you want to call it. And so I think they've probably given her a lot more leeway and a lot more transparency and a lot more of just being there and being happy to have her as a creator. Oh, Adagong said, okay, these designs do look amazing. They look really good. I'm not a huge fan of the Dragon Boy just because I don't necessarily care for purple. So like, at least not that color purple. So I'm just like, not for me. But I think that's awesome, and I hope that Manta works out for Mangi. I feel like she's probably been like way stricter on her contract and whatnot, so she probably got exactly what she wanted. We'll see if Manta advertises her like the way that she talks about. I feel like she's doing more advertising for them than they're doing for her because I've never heard of them, which means maybe, what do y'all think about possibly doing a stream where we kind of talk about like some of the publishing houses for comics and whatnot and my opinions on them? Let me know in the comments below if you would like a video about that, because I think like there's not enough knowledge about what's out there for webcomic creators that they can take advantage of. And hey, like, you might be in a position where somebody like Manta would pick you up and be like, yes, please, we would love to work with you. Here's our contract. Now you're a professional, published comic maker, artist, writer, whatever you want to call it. So what is this story actually about? And let me just say, I'll probably butcher some of these names. And if, it is what it is, I'm going to do my best. Josie said, having a good marketing strategy is everything. I agree. I really think that, like, if you're not marketing, you're probably not doing your story justice. It's unfortunate that I think, like, a lot of creators are like, I'm making the story, I shouldn't have to market. You kind of got to do both in this day and age. Like, if you're not marketing, then your story's not succeeding. It's unfortunate. I wish that creators could just be like, outsource the marketing, outsource the social media stuff to other people, but it's really not an option. Adagong said, that'd be great, as well as how to research publishing companies, studios, editors, and so on. Ooh, we could do like a whole, that's actually really good. I need to save that as an idea for a stream. Like, that would require a little bit more research, but I feel like companies, studios, and editors is definitely something that I could do. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna write that down. Companies, studios, and editors for Webtoons. And I think maybe I should do like professional and alternative sources. So like a editor who isn't necessarily working with the company, but they are they do this as a career or as a hobby. Like they have, like, they're not just like some random who's like, oh, I've never edited anything before. Like, they have something to show behind it. So I feel like I'll do something like that, because I mean, I'm not saying that a random couldn't offer you great advice. I'm just saying, like, I want to make sure that it's a good source, at least. I don't want to be like, yeah, Joe Bob, who has no references, no backgrounds, no anything on his resume, he'll make a great editor. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'll have to make some stuff up. Not make it up, but get some stuff together. All right, so what is the summary of this series? Dragon King Oath is set in a world where an oath binds kings and dragons to share the land in peace. The oath demands that the king sends one of his royal daughters to the dragon in exchange for the creature's protection from any threats and vow to not harm the king nor his people. Breaking such an oath would call for a curse on both sides. The story follows Princess Lizette. I have no clue how to say her last name, so I'm not even going to try. Who is pledged to a dragon named Wraith. As she settles into her new home in the dragon world, she discovers secrets about the true nature of the dragons and humans' relationship that may change the course of history for both races. So I kind of like this. It gives me a little bit of like enemies to lovers, a little Romeo and Juliet sort of vibe, and so I'm very much into that. And I mean, I feel like it'll have like a lot of appeal for like men and women is what I'm thinking, just because like it has dragons in it. And I feel like with Poe, he's not big on romance, but he would give a romance a try if it has a dragon in it. So what does this teach us? As I've kind of discussed, I feel like it shows you that we can be successful without Webtoons. And I'm talking about the company. So, like, don't limit yourself and don't think like, oh, I have to work with Webtoons. No, you can work with other companies. It may not be as massive as Webtoons, but you can still find a route to be a professional that's not per se in the Webtoon sphere. But if you want to work for Webtoons, go ahead. I'm just saying, you have other options. Like, and I think that's kind of the thing. Like, everybody kind of hyper focuses on Webtoons, but you don't have to hyper focus on Webtoons. Focus on just becoming a professional. Focus on taking advantage of every opportunity that you have. Next, I would say be honest about what you want from your series from the beginning. So if you want an anime, if you want your story to be an international publication, international book, I can't think of what to call it, an international novel, like an international series. Okay, there it is. If you want your story to be an international series, be upfront about that. Like, hey, I really want my story to be in Japan. I really want my story to be in India. I really want my story to be in Mexico. Like, if those are things that you want, be honest with yourself about it. So that when you're speaking with executives, you're speaking with people to potentially collab with, just tell them. Like, why be embarrassed about saying I want an anime, or that I want a video game, or that I want my story to be made into a novel? Like, those are things that you want. And as a business person, it only behooves the person you're working with when they're dealing with IP to be interested in how big or how small you want your story to be. If they hear like, oh, you're interested in making your series a movie or making your series into a anime, oh, maybe we could help you with that. Maybe we could offer you support in that. And I feel like being transparent during these meetings will only help you to move forward. And they may not necessarily commit, but at least you told them and they know, so that when you're like, hey, you're not giving me what I want, I'm sorry, I'm moving on to make my series into X. So, and then I would say it's important to study business and find people that will support you. Looking at Mangi, looking at what she's decided to do, looking at how diverse she's making her portfolio, licensing, anime, merch, with particular types of content. So PG-13, R content, not safe for work content, like thinking about all that she's doing, thinking about how she's spending her time wisely, how she's being strategic about, the number of episodes she's committing to for a series, how she's not giving up on her other series, like just being smart about business, I think will help us as creators. Like, I feel like a lot of times we creators are just like, I'm going to make a series and that's it. No, there's so much more if you want it to be successful. So just be smart about the business. Okay, with that, are there any questions? Did y'all have any thoughts about this? I know that was a lot, but Mongi dropped a lot all at once. Like, she was just like, hello, my name is Mongi, and here is my 16-page resume, and here is the timeline of what's happening in the very near future. And I was like, girl, I need a break. You're giving me too much to report on. Like, I could have literally just done a whole stream about her. Like, I could have been like, oh, she's got an anime coming out. What is this looking like? Oh, she's got a new series coming out. What is this looking like? Oh, look at all these other revenue streams. Like, she could have literally been all 3 stories today. So also, if Mongi is watching this and you would ever want to come on the platform and talk with us about how, being more business minded, like being an advocate for yourself, like we would love it. We stand that. I'm here for it. Just reach out to me, DM, Instagram, Twitter, email, whatever. Like, I'm here for it. And if y'all know Mongi, like, send her my way. Like, I would love to just have her on and chill. That would be so much fun. I will definitely, when what is it, Dragon Oath, King Dragon Oath, whatever it's called, when it comes out, I will try and review it so that I can let y'all know what I think about it. All right, if there are no questions, let's go on to our last story. So very excited about this. UnOrdinary Wins. What do they win? The wait is finally over. We are getting volume 1 of UnOrdinary, and it is going to be in paperback or hardback, depending on what you want. It's coming out November 7th. So what's interesting about this is, like, Uo-chan's like really involved in this. I feel like she's like been posting about it all over the place and trying to make sure that people know about it. She even has an exclusive discount code that's at Barnes & Noble. It's a 25% off code. And let me tell you, these Webtoon books are expensive. So what's also kind of cool about this is if you live in Virginia or Massachusetts, Uo-chan is doing a meet and greet sort of thing. So like you could actually meet her. I wish I lived close because I would definitely try and network so that I could get in on that good Uo-chan vibes. If you meet her and you're in Massachusetts or Virginia, be like, Apollo would love to meet you and have you on for a stream. We would love to just talk to you. I really would. Like, she has led such an interesting life thus far in the Webtoon world. So I would love to hear her thoughts on it. Now, what happened? Like, clearly there was a lawsuit. There was some sort of, and I'm using lawsuit loosely. So lawsuit asterisk. There was a legal case. Like, what happened? Did this settle? I scoured the internet all over the place. And let me tell you, I could not find anything about what happened with this. I'm going to assume they settled since there's nothing public about it that I could find. I don't know yet. I'll probably keep looking, but I'm not going to invest too much time in it. But I could more or less say that Uo-chan came out on top, and the reason is because she has a series coming out. Like, not a series coming out, a volume coming out of UnOrdinary, which was the big issue. So with all of that being said, it's kind of like we can infer that Uo-chan won the case, more or less. So what does this teach us? Well, basically, we should never give up. Like, don't give up ever on what you believe you're owed or what you believe is right. Because I feel like if Uo-chan just rolled over on this, she would be... And I'm trying to be fair about this because I'm like, there's no article that I could find. So there's nothing that I'm basing any of this on except for my own opinion. But I feel like she would be in a much worse situation if she had just like rolled over on it. Like if she wasn't really pushing for it, like I feel like she could have gotten taken advantage of. I feel like, especially when like legal stuff is involved, that can be very intimidating. It can really make you feel like, oh, there's no way for me to win this. There's no way for me to overcome this obstacle. They have the law on their side. And especially in a situation where things can be interpreted. So I feel like if you believe that you have something that's worth fighting for, if you have an IP that you're proud of, an IP that you feel like is worth the fight, then you've got to get in there and do your best to win. Like, it is so important for all of us to remember that, again, the best advocate for your IP, for your series, is yourself. Like, even if other people are advocating for you, even if other people are helping you, you have to be the one to put your foot down and fight against whatever adversity you have. What I think this also teaches us is that webtoons will help and support their creators depending on the situation. So like with this being involved, there was a lot of information that we could find where Webtoons was involved, and Webtoons said that, hey, we're going to help our creator because, you know, they're also invested in UnOrdinary as well. But the thing of it is they didn't necessarily have to. They could have said, hey, you know, that's on you. We just host your stuff. We just promote your stuff. You know, hire your own legal team. That's what we pay you. That's why we pay you. We pay you so that you can handle stuff. But they said, no, we're going to get involved. We're going to help figure this out and whatnot. And we're going to support you so that you can get the series off to the start that you want it to be. And if we look at the cover of the pictures and whatnot, like if you look like right here in the bottom, it has the Webtoon logo on there, which means that Webtoons published it, not another company. Josie said, congrats on winning the case. So, yes, congrats, although we don't know if she won the case or not, but we'll just assume. Adagong said, would losing risk her ownership of the rights to her own series? So from what I understand, it was she wasn't losing the IP rights. Like she would still be able to use the series in other formats and stuff. She was losing the right to publish the story. So to publish it in a physical format, from what I understood. I could be wrong, but that's what I took away from the research that I did. Is that she wouldn't be able to publish through anyone else except for that company. So if you don't know what company I'm talking about, I did a whole video on this legal case where we got into the nitty gritty and really like tried to talk about what was going on with it. But long story short, Ul-chan, I feel like even if she lost the case, she still would have been able to recover from this. Either way, she would have still profited, even if that company did end up making the series for her. So it's just, I feel like because of this situation, she put herself in a stronger position for her story. And she also tried her best to make sure that that she wasn't gonna lay down on this. Like she was here for it. And any creator, I would definitely say, if anyone's asking you to take away your rights for your story or whatever, or they're interested in buying your IP, they're interested in licensing your IP, that means that it has value. So remember that whatever you create has value, and if somebody's interested in it, then whatever they probably offered you in that first deal is their like bottom minimum probably. So you should probably try and squeeze them for more if you can. I'm just saying, like, it never hurts to ask for more. Next thing, remember your contracts are important. Regardless of what anybody says, what anybody tells you, if somebody comes up to you and is like, hey, blah, 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 we need a contract. Like, I don't care what you said. I don't care, like, if we're friends, if you're a family member, like, at the end of the day, we have to go by what's in black and white. And even going to a court and being like, they said this, even if there's no contract, it's still like, when that's the case, it's like, what's the most reasonable, which hurts you in the end, especially if it's your IP. So I would just say this was pretty short because there wasn't a lot to necessarily discuss, but I just think that it's amazing that the series is coming out and I have my copy already ordered. I'm so ready to read the series. UnOrdinary is one of my favorite series. It's probably, I think I've told you guys, the first series that I ever read on Webtoons. So I really like UnOrdinary. I have nothing bad to say about UnOrdinary. So what about you guys? Are there any questions or thoughts about this? I know we're all super excited for Uro-chan and we're all super excited to buy a copy of UnOrdinary. But just all in all, with everything going on, I just think that it's important to see that creators can win. Like, it's already tough enough out there for creators to make series, to pursue art as a full-time career. And so when we have legal cases that come up, it's even more daunting, especially if the creator was to lose. That really sucks. And it can really be like, man, we just can't win. Like, we can't get good contracts at certain companies. We can't diversify our portfolios to have more revenue streams because people are like hitting us at the knees. We have random lawsuits coming at us for our own IP. So I just feel like it's important for us to see these like small little wins and be like, heck yeah. All right. Oh, Adagong said, UnOrdinary holds a special place in my heart as one of the webtoons that got me into the platform. So huge congrats to Uro-chan for the progress she has made. 100% agree. I couldn't agree any more if I tried. Like, I really would love to pick her brain and see, because from what I understood, she was a contest winner. And so to go from being a contest winner to like one of the biggest series on the platform is so cool. I'm very excited to, see where she goes from here. I really wonder where UnOrdinary is going to. Like, I feel like there's a lot of stuff happening in UnOrdinary, and I'm just like, how close are we to the end? Is the story just getting started? Like, where are we in this story? Like, I would love to know. So that will conclude our 3 stories for the day. We covered so much stuff. I can't believe it's already been an hour, but like seeing the possibilities and the opportunities of things to come in the future, seeing like how much that I've learned just from these 3 articles really excites me a lot for a lot of things. I feel like the more I learn about other creators and what they're doing, the more I'm just like, oh man, that's such a good idea. Or I'm just like awed at the fact that the success of some creators, I'm just like, good grief. I mean, when you're successful, you're successful. But I just feel like today's 3 stories really encompass like the success that 3 of the biggest creators, either formerly on Webtoons or currently on Webtoons, just like how big you can actually get when like you have confidence and like you really pursue your dreams. Like you can, like the sky's the limit here. So if you took away anything from the stream, I feel like just don't limit yourself and remember that you can be successful even if your series isn't successful right now or you're in pre-production phase. Like you can get to this point as well. Adagong said these 3 webtoons are masterclasses in how to be a successful artist and storyteller in today's environment. 100% agreed. I can't think of 3 other webtoons currently that have more popularity than these 3 do. Like even with Let's Play not being here, I'm like, oh, amazing. Tay, hello, thanks for joining the stream. We appreciate you. We're kind of wrapping up, but so glad you could be here. It's so funny that you're here because Taylor and I have a friend. Her name is Adrienne, and she is a author. She's also one of my super cool followers who, was just like, hey, I'm gonna follow you. And I've been checking out her stuff, and she's actually a novelist. So maybe we can actually get her on for a stream and we can all talk about her amazing novel. So this is a shout out to her specifically. There's a link in the description that will take you to her link tree where you can check out her Instagram, or you can check out her links to her book. So what is this? The series is called Corrosion. It is a sci-fi fantasy. So let's read the description. What is legacy if not endless burden? Chol Sul couldn't be more different from his mischief-loving sister Jin. Left in charge of the family farm for the season, Chol wants nothing more than to prove his worth to his parents, whereas Jin spends her time daydreaming atop the Anko stone guardians that once protected their valley. Chol truly believes there is nothing worse than his snide sister's antics getting in his way, until an unforeseen attack shatters their simple livelihoods forever. In the blink of an eye, the Sul form is reduced to ashes. Masked raiders tear down the guardians, burn the fields, and take Jin. With the help of the soul remaining Ankoi, a strange girl with too many questions and an insane hunch, Chol will defy all odds to find Jin and take revenge against the raiders. But as the search for Jin stretches on and Chol's own sanity begins to slip, he'll learn just how tricky the world beyond the farm really is. What? So exciting! Oh, man. Oh, everybody's saying hello to Taylor. Taylor said one of my fave reads this year. So guys, if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and get you a copy. Either get a physical version or get the digital version. I'm sure Adrienne would really appreciate it so much. Also, Adrienne, if you watch this, I'm so sorry I butchered all of the names. I did my best. But with that being said, thank you again, guys, for showing up. I really appreciate all of you guys. I'm so excited for our next stream. I have no clue if we're going to do another Webtoon tea. It really depends on what I find, but I will be announcing what the next stream will be very soon. All right, so I'm just going to enter into my outro sort of thing, plug all the things. But thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you being here for the stream. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, leave us a like, a comment, and most definitely ring the bell. A huge thank you and shout out to our patrons. If you'd like to support us while getting some extra content that we don't post on Instagram or YouTube, then head on over and check out our Patreon. Be sure to follow us on all our social media accounts. We're particularly active on Instagram, so if you want to chat with us, then feel free to pop on by. All right, Apollo will catch you in the next video. Peace out, guys.